Next up, Cobblestone Place, Phase 2.
Located at 225 37 Lane, Webster Griffin Legal for Realty is requesting area variances to allow the following. For lot 1, 20-foot buffer area where a minimum of 50 feet is required, a 36-foot distance between buildings where a minimum of 40 feet is required, 20-foot front setback where a minimum of 75 feet is required. Or in lot 2, a 16-foot buffer area where a minimum of 50 feet is required, 36 feet between buildings where a minimum of 40 feet is required, 16-foot front setback where a minimum of 75 feet is required, 1.85 parking spaces per unit where a minimum of 2 parking spaces per unit is required, and a 0-foot parking setback where a minimum of 50 feet is required. In association with the construction of a 47-unit apartment building on a 5.0-acre parcel with an SBL number 079.15-1-8.003/SEN2, located in the NHR Medium High Residential District under Section 350-14 of the Code of the Town of Webster.
All right, give us a rundown on the project.
Good evening, my name is Jake Calabrese. I'm with Marathon Engineering, and to start off I'll give you more of a background of the entire property. So hopefully it sounds like a lot of variances, but it should make a little bit more sense. In roughly 2014-2015, Pass Road did I guess we'll call it an overall design of 2 60-unit senior living facilities, and they did a full design for what we'll call Phase 1, which is the existing lot. That was approved by, I believe, both variance board and planning board roughly around 2015, and then built, I think, soon thereafter. They did not get grant funding or funding for Phase 2, so that's kind of why we're at where we are, where we have the existing facility, which would be to the, I guess we'll call it northwest here, and then this is our proposed building to the southeast. There was a tax parcel line created that kind of divides the properties into 2 5-acre properties, and that was completed in for a tax line, but did not actually be completed to be subdivided. So we have been to the planning board for a sketch plan review, and then in our process of what we thought we were going to go to the planning board for more of a detailed design, we found out it wasn't subdivided. So we submitted to the planning board subdivision, and then now, because of the subdivision, we are now going to have some variances for the existing lot as well as for our lot to complete the project. And I think, yeah, so we're on, if we do get variance approval tonight, we'll then go to the planning board for subdivision, hopefully by the April meeting, and then soon thereafter we'll start our full design of architectural and site design.
Okay. Questions from the board?
Yes. Is this essentially the same plan that was approved in 2015, just a different developer now of lot 2?
Yes, so I guess, yeah, you make a really good point. So the building layout is just about the same. They did full design for Phase 1, which is existing, and they included the stormwater facility, so all stormwater is already accounted for, designed for. They did not do the site design for Phase 2, and that's where we're taking over. And we're proposing a 47-unit facility that is not senior living. It's going to be for general for
Was Phase 1 and Phase 2 approved back in 15?
Yes, it was approved as a single 10-acre parcel.
Okay.
So the setbacks and buffers within the interior of the two is not required. But the same essential layout is what's on here right now, just instead of a 60 unit building, it's now a 47 unit building.
Yep.
But
not senior.
dimensionally, it's, I won't say identical because I don't remember, but it looked similar.
So I'm gonna ask you, is it identical to 2015, the footprint?
Is identical as they just had a very similar block on the site plan. We've probably shifted a couple feet left or right, but generally it is laid out the same. And so kind of to go back to the variances for the existing lot, those were all, I don't want to say variances that were going to occur when the property was eventually subdivided, but that is the 20-foot was what was planned per the Pass Road design for phase one, as well as the buffer. The one that has slightly changed is the 36 feet to 40 feet, and that was just because we started a more detailed design of the phase two architectural plan. And that kind of takes care of the existing lot variances. And then to go to our proposed lot variances, the 16-foot is going to be off of the newly created subdivision line. That will be 16 feet off of the building corner.
That's dimension 16.3 on the plans that I have?
Yep, correct, yep. And then the 36 is just the mirror of the variances because the two buildings, we need them for both lots.
Yep.
As well as the 16-foot is also kind of a buffer area to the front. I know with this property, front is a very interesting term of trying to figure out what the front is, so that's why we went and just said kind of the front of the building would be to the front property line. And then the variance for parking spaces, we're going for 1.85, so that is including the parking lot up here, parking lot back here, as well as 10 garage spaces that are going to be for residents.
So that includes the 10 parking, the 10 garage
Correct.
spaces?
Yep, correct.
So what is it without the garage spaces?
So it's the, what is it, 87, so it'd be 77. There's 10 garage spaces.
Okay.
And then the final variance would be the 0 feet parking setback. That's identical to the Pass Road plans. We haven't changed where that parking lot was going to be. So if it was a senior facility or what we're proposing, there would still be parking along that, what was a tax parcel line, which we need to see it as a subdivision line.
You said 45 units, is that right?
47.
47 units?
Yep.
Any discussions with I don't know what the relation of the developer of this site versus the owner of the senior living site to, that you guys are going to be adjoining.
Yeah, so Conifer has actually, we initially submitted 2 separate applications and the town helped us out and told us that we should just submit one with the correct way, so thank you again for that help. But yes, they're Conifer and Brickwood. Brickwood is who we're representing. Conifer is who owns the existing facility. They're in talks and they, yes.
So there's no objection from that
No.
point? Okay. Any questions from the board? It's quiet today. All right, I'll open it up to the public, if anybody wants to speak for or against this project. No? All right, bring it back to the board. I'll ask the board if there's any additional comments from the board. Assuming it's no? Okay. I'd like to make a motion for type 2 action under secret pursuant to NYCRR section 617.5 of the Environmental Code. All those in favor? Aye. Findings?
All right, do we want to make a single variance for each lot, or a single motion for each lot, or
For the entire application,
for
the way,
application?
I would do for the entire application,
But
kind of the way
since
it's
they're two
written.
different tax parcels, I don't know. What will be easier for you to find in the future when somebody asks?
Technically, it is still a singular tax parcel. It just has a different identification at the end for leasing purposes.
Okay, so we'll keep it
I would
as a single one.
recommend keeping it
Okay.
together.
All right, there will be no undesirable change to the essential character of the neighborhood. This was previously approved as two similarly sized units, similar, just about the same location that they're in right now. But the variances are needed only because there's now going to be a parcel dividing line between them. No other remedy, there is really no other remedy in that the way the parcel is subdivided and the way the plan was originally designed. This is the only location for building 2, and the location of building 2 drives several of the variances that are requested. With respect to significance, I'll say it's relatively insignificant as far as the individual variances, because they are within the parcel. They do not really apply to the area outside of the parcel. It's just within the development of the 2 apartment dwellings. Physical and environmental conditions, there will be no adverse environmental or physical conditions to the neighborhood or the district, as the construction has taken into account, or will take into account, any water remediation or runoff. And it was all previously approved. It's just, now I'm just putting a dividing line down the center. And while the difficulty is self-created, it's really not a significant self-creation. Anything else?
I think you covered it all. That's anyone else wants to add anything?
I will note that the variances requested, they're essentially the same. I need, like, building spacing, I need building spacing approved for lot 1 and for lot 2, but it's the same single dimension between the 2 buildings. It's not, there really are not 7 different variances, 7 different dimensions. It's just because it's 2 parcels. If that makes sense. All right, so with that, I will make a motion to grant area variances for phase 2 of Cobblestone Place, located at 1025 Ravenside Lane. Variances for lot 1 shall be a 20-foot buffer area where a minimum of 50 is required, a 36-foot distance between buildings where a minimum of 40 is required, and a 20-foot front setback where a minimum of 75 feet is required. For lot 2, the variances shall be a 16-foot buffer area where a minimum of 15 feet is required, a 36-foot between buildings dimension where a minimum of 40 feet is required, a 16-foot front setback where a minimum of 75 feet is required, 1.85 parking spaces per unit where a minimum of 2 parking spaces are required, and a 0-foot parking setback where a minimum of 50 feet is required. I will make a note, just maybe it should have gone into the findings. The previous application, or the previous subdivision plan, had approximately 1 parking spot per unit. So this is less of an impact with respect to what's required for code in the previous one. And all of that is associated with the construction of a 47-unit apartment building on a 5-acre parcel, SBL 079.15-1-8.003/SEN2.
Second.
Mrs. Bola?
Aye.
Mr. Santola?
Aye.
Mr. Spagnano?
Aye.
Mr. Prescott?
Aye.
Mr. Short?
Aye. You have your variance, you have 1 year for completion. You need to, I believe you still need to go to the planning board, you still have to obtain all the permits.
Yep.
Have a good evening.
Awesome, thank you.